So before we begin the PYQ discussion, selective PYQ discussion, most of you know this, but again, for your satisfaction, my satisfaction, look at the number of questions and sub areas. Therefore, you know where to give more importance. Look at this one particular topic, external sector, and mostly you do have confusion regarding rupee appreciation, depreciation, import, export, this, that, etc., current account, capital account, etc. So this is one high priority area. Then money and banking, and then government budgeting and fiscal policy. Again, financial markets and land reform, agriculture mostly. Questions from agriculture are purely based on government schemes, economic survey and budget document along with some concepts. That's it. So mostly, as I said, same option. Anyways, whenever you read economy, prioritize your time according to high yielding topics. Don't spend too much of time on microeconomics. Why? In the last 10 to 12 years, hardly there are 5 questions. Therefore, should I spend more time in reading about production, demand, supply, etc.? Not that much important. But I've selected one question for you. How many of you have got this with you? The documents. I think I asked them to send to your mobiles, right? Okay, right. Open them. లేదా పక్కన వాళ్ళ దగ్గర బ్లూటూత్ ఆన్ చేసుకుని పంపించుకోమని చెప్పండి. Share it to your neighbors. Okay. I understand. Ala. Rohit. Acha. Anyways, look at here. Look at the board. Is this visible? No. Okay. వాళ్ళకి పంపించొద్దు. సెల్ఫిష్ అయిపోయాయి అరవింద్. At least check the questions from your neighbors' devices. This font is not visible to the students who are at the back, I guess. Check them out. Okay. Now, don't worry. This is not a new thing. We know this, but I'll give you some insights about how to work on the questions given and what is the way to solve questions. Okay? Vachinda? Okay, done. What is the source of this question? What is the source of this question? Consider following statements, other things remaining unchanged. So UPSC has given a context. What is the context? Source of, other things remain unchanged. That means don't worry about externalities. Focus on what? 2 keywords, 3 statements. Market demand for a good might increase. Did he mention about the nature of good? Inferior good, normal good, Veblen, Giffen, this, that? No. First statement. This is from NCERT, directly lifted from NCERT, microeconomics. Price of its substitute increases. Price of its complement increases. The good is an inferior good and income of the consumer increases. Its price falls. How should we answer this? If you understand what is a substitute good, what is a substitute good? Let us go back to microeconomics NCERT. Tea, coffee are substitutes, alternates. So, other things remaining unchanged, market demand for a good increases if its substitute good price increases. Imagine tea, పోయి టీ తాగుతారు కదా, టీ షాప్లో టీ ప్రైస్ పెరిగింది. వాట్ డూ యూ డూ? కాఫీ. వాట్ హ్యాపెన్స్ టు కాఫీ ప్రైస్? Market demand for a good increase if price of its substitute increases. Always the same result is seen. In which context we understand this statement? Only when goods are substituting for each other. What is complement good? which is consumed together. Classic example in NCERT: bread and butter, bread and jam, car petrol, car diesel, milk coffee, tea powder coffee, sugar coffee. What do you call these things? Complementary goods are those goods which are used together and then consumed, right? Market demand for a good might increase if price of its complement increases. To what extent this statement is true? Correct in our statement. Why? Complement good price rather remains unchanged. Why in this case? Or it might undergo down, or it might fall. Why? Only then demand increases. What does law of demand says? Inverse relationship between demand and price of goods. What is inverse relationship? If price of goods decreases, consumers would buy it more. If price of good increases, consumers will buy it less. But the question is regarding which kind of good this law of demand is applicable. Normal good. That should be in your mind, right? So this is ruled out. The good is an inferior good and income of consumer increases. If you understand what is inferior good, what is normal good, you understand the statement. I can give an example. With increasing income levels of consumers, you don't buy more inferior goods, rather you try to buy more of normal goods. What is example of inferior good? Kerosene. In which part of the world people are using kerosene, my friend? Salt. Your salary is 30,000, increase to 60,000. Would you consume double the salt? BP వచ్చి పోతావు అయ్యా. మ్యాచ్ బాక్స్ ఒక మంచి ఎగ్జాంపుల్ కూడా చెప్ప. సో సాల్ట్ ఈజ్ ఎ గుడ్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఫర్ ఇన్ఫీరియర్ గుడ్. వాట్ ఈజ్ అన్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఫర్ నార్మల్ గుడ్? Fresh fruits, dry fruits, eggs, meat, etc. What if your income levels increase? If your income level is at X%, you are consuming chicken once in a week. If your income levels increased by X plus 1%, what do? You increase more of your chicken consumption. I hope you understand this. Pocket money increased by 2,000 rupees from your parents. What do in the hostel? Your orders in Zomato, Swiggy increases. What are you ordering? Salt? No, you are ordering normal good. Therefore, here the statement is wrong. Now, what should be the change in the statement if it has to become right? Inferior should be replaced with normal. One change in this statement, answer undergoes change. When you solve PYQs, focus on these areas. Why this is wrong and what change could make the statement right. Only then you understand the depth of the topic. Then its price falls. Price falls, demand increases. That is true. What do you call that? Law of demand. So eliminate 2 and 3. A. It is not about A, B, C. Try to understand the statement, the concept, and whenever you resolve PYQs in your practice sessions, focus on the two dimensions of each statement. As I said, this is right. In what context this will undergo wrong or this becomes wrong? In what context it goes wrong? So focus on those areas. Next. Second question. This is interesting. You know why? UPSC tests your common sense. Very interesting common sense. And I can show at least one question from every year economy module in GS paper. Don't by heart the years and the statistics. Let us use common sense. From second 5-year plan, there was a determined thrust towards substitution of basic and capital good industries in India. We don't know. But how to understand this statement? I said it says second 5-year plan. What is experience of first 5-year plan? Agriculture was given As a result, what happened to your current account deficit? Decreased. Increased predominantly. Why? Even basic, what do you call that? Basic machinery goods you started importing. గుండు సూది కూడా ఇంపోర్ట్ చేసుకున్నాం మనం. Why? Focus is not on manufacturing, focus is on agriculture. Now you realize that and you started reducing import. How do you reduce import? By making it in India. What do you call this? Determined thrust towards substitution of basic and capital goods industries. Why you are focusing on basic and capital good industries? You want to reduce your import bill. You want to control your current account deficit. So naturally, the statement commonsensically is true. Fourth five-year plan adopted the object of correcting the earlier trend of increased concentration of wealth and economic power. Forget about 4 or 5. Generally, any government's objective is what? The other day I discussed it. Reducing poverty, reducing unemployment, reducing income inequality. It says the same thing. Third, in fifth five-year plan, for the first time, this is the key. This is the key. If you understand this word, you understand the statement. The financial sector, what is financial sector? Banking, right, was included as an integral part of the plan. To understand this, let us recollect Indira Gandhi. The first tectonic reform happened in financial sector was bank nationalization. In which year? 1969, I guess. And by 1969, in India, it is fourth five-year plan. It is fourth five-year plan. Now, I said extreme words mostly are wrong statements for the first time. And if you don't understand what comes under financial sector, you can't answer this. So financial sector is all about banking network. And what is the first reform introduced in financial sector? Nationalization of private banks into public sector banks. That means it happened in fourth five-year plan. So take this out. Elimination. So 1 and 2 are the answer. Where is that? A. Next. This is a very interesting question. Production linked incentive, in which year it was commenced by the government? Modi ji has given a lot of importance to this scheme even in his Independence Day and Republic Day speeches. Try to understand, whenever your Prime Minister and Finance Minister speaks something with a lot of impetus or importance or significance in their public speeches, that is gold mine for your exam. You know what he said regarding PLI? It is an antidote to revive industrial growth in India post-pandemic. That was a statement given by Prime Minister. Therefore, it was asked. Now, let us focus on this. In which year the statement was asked? Why you going? No, after COVID, I guess. Which one? My iPad is better than this. How many of you doesn't have these questions with you? Raise your hands. Only 2? Okay, then I can use my iPad because it is taking a lot of time. What is the first point, first statement? Right? Chalo. Check into the statement. The question says, India accounts for 3.2% of global export of goods. And second statement, many local companies and some foreign companies operating in India have taken advantage of India's production linked incentive scheme. What is wrong in second statement? Nothing. And the question is given in 2023. As I said, it is post-pandemic economic reform. Now, if you recollect very well, at that time, hardly India's global share is 2%. We want to make it 3% or 3.5 by 2027, and we want to make it to 5% by 2035 and 7% by 2045. So there are some big targets. So 3%, 3.2% is a factual error. Again, we discussed something the other day. What is that? Majority of the times, if a fact is mentioned by UPSC in economy module, 9 out of 10 times that statement is wrong. So even if you use that trick or technique, you can eliminate that first statement, right? Which one? India accounts for 3.2% of global export of goods. That is wrong. Then come to second statement. Many local companies and some foreign companies operating in India have taken advantage of India's PLI scheme. What is troubling in this statement? Foreign companies. I can give an example. Why Apple came to India? Apple production started in India since which year? 2023. Why? Under PLI scheme, they were given incentives by the government. The moment, who manufactures Apple, my friends? Foxconn company. And what is the rival of Apple? Samsung. Samsung was also given incentive. What do you mean by this? I don't know about others because we are more worried about what? These things regarding phones. I know Samsung and Foxconn were part of PLI. Are these companies Indian companies? No. Even I know the statement to some extent, I can mark this as right. So under PLI scheme, what is the logic in allowing foreign companies to use this incentive? Does it make any sense? Post liberalization, we opened our doors to foreign companies to start their business in India. Imagine hypothetically, what if we don't let foreign companies operating in India use PLI scheme and let only domestic companies use it? Will those foreign companies stay in India? They leave India. What kind of image it gives to Indian economy if foreign companies are leaving your country? On one hand, government says, Prime Minister and Finance Minister says, India is a destination of manufacturing. They are inviting foreign companies to come to India. Use that logic, you can say that the second statement is correct. Next. So, ABC, check that ABC. I think it is statement 1 is incorrect and statement 2 is correct. D, yeah, that is D. Now come to the next point. Next question, fourth question. The value of Indo-Sri Lanka trade has consistently increased in the last decade. What is the keyword? Consistently. Use the trick. It is an extreme thing. Now, I can give an indication for you. So, small exercise from your side. Whenever you read economic survey, this question is lifted from economic survey. Whenever you read economic survey, you do find tables, right? And what do you find in the tables? Graphs, increased, decreased, increased, decreased. By looking at the graph, you have to convert the graphical information into a statement. What is that? Imagine India-America bilateral trade. There is a chart given by economic survey this year. How should we understand that? 2019, 2021, 23, 25, 26, whatever it is. For 5 years, if you find that India's exports to America increased, decreased, increased, what should be the statement you're supposed to write? Imports from India to America were inconsistent. Don't memorize the number. Okay. What about America exporting goods to India? If it is continuously increasing, convert that graphical information into a statement and write it down on the source of your economic survey that from America, exports to India increased consistently. So I say mostly you try to memorize the numbers. Don't memorize the numbers, useless. Convert the graphical information into a statement so that it is easy for you to revise the statement before the exam. So with Sri Lanka, we do not have consistently increased trade in the last decade. Why? Look at the geopolitical context in Sri Lanka. That could be classic example to understand there shouldn't be, not only with India, Sri Lanka do not have any consistent rise in trade with any country. Next. Second statement, very interesting statement. Textile and textile articles constitute an important item of trade between India and Bangladesh. Bangladesh, Kenya, and Vietnam, Cambodia are giving tough competition to India, particularly in textiles. At one point of time, in entire South Asia, India used to be the dominant player in textiles. Now we are losing that position to our neighbor, Bangladesh. Bangladesh, in Africa, it is Kenya, and nearby you got Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam. These Asian economies nearby your side, they're giving you tough competition. All this information was lifted from academic survey. This question is also based on academic survey. So statement 2 is right. Now come back to third statement. It is commonsensical. In the last 5 years, Nepal has been the largest trading partner of India in what is the size of Nepal's economy? How much it can import from us and what it can export to us. Nepal is a landlocked economy. It is completely depending on India for various goods and services, export and import, right? And Nepal is also going through political crisis in the last 5 years. Therefore, how do you find Nepal, a tiny nation, to be emerging as the largest trading partner for India and South Asia? It doesn't appeal to your common sense. That statement is absolute rubbish. Next. What is the next question? With reference to international trade, international trade of India at present, look at the following statements. Very interesting. It was given in 2020. I still remember in the key I have given the answer as 1 and 3. That option is not available. Some of the students had argued with me. I said UPSC will drop this question. UPSC dropped this in 2020. Why? Let us look at it. India's merchandise exports are less than its merchandise imports. Is that true? What do you mean by this statement? We have exported what? More than we imported. In which year the question was asked? 2020. That statement is true. Surprisingly, that statement is true. I still remember whenever economic survey is released, the chief economic advisor will hold a press conference. In that, chief economic advisor, I think Arvind Subramaniam at that time, he has categorically made a very tall statement. You know what he said? In the recent past, we got 0.9% of positive current account surplus. Generally, when we discuss about a current account, what do we say? India has current account deficit. And he proudly said that in the last 1 year, we have achieved little surplus in current account. How do you achieve current account surplus? First statement has to be true, right? Come to second statement. India's import of iron and steel, chemicals, fertilizers and machineries have decreased in recent years. Trust me, even for I don't consider myself as an astrologer or Venuswami, but this is my prediction. For the next 10 years, India's iron import, machinery import, fertilizer import are going to increase. Now, what is the reason for these items to be decreased in India? You should manufacture it. There are two ways where iron, chemicals, fertilizers, imports can be reduced. One, you started consuming less. Is that so? In the context of fertilizer, I can give you a very interesting logic. We are going towards what? Intensive cultivation. And what about fertilizer consumption year by year? Is it increasing or decreasing? When fertilizer consumption is increasing, cultivable area under irrigation is increasing. How come fertilizer consumption decrease? That means you need more fertilizers. Are you producing more? Even today, we import urea from America. So what do you call that? You don't have to know about iron, chemicals, steel, etc. Even if you know the situation regarding fertilizers, you can say the statement is wrong. And what should be the change to make the statement right? Change the word from decrease to increase, the statement would be right. Next. India's export of services are more than its import of services. Thank God, that is the reason why we are having some reputation globally. We export more services and we import less services. Right statement. Next, India suffers from an overall trade or current account deficit. At that time, it is a little surplus. Okay, so that is wrong. What is the answer? Answer is 1 and 3, and that option is not available. So 1 and 3, acha, ivala. So some students have got it 3 or C only or 3 only, and some got it 1, 3, 4. Why 4 is included? Because based on the reputation of our economy, we consider the last statement is to be true. But at times we do some miracles, right? Yeah. Come to 6th question. Very interesting question. The other day I have given you a trick to solve this question. Can anybody explain the answer for 6th question? Statement 1 says, in post-pandemic, many central banks across the world had carried out interest rate hikes. Now, what do you call this kind of monetary policy? Expansionary monetary policy or contractionary monetary policy? Contractionary. Very good. That means repo rate is increased. When repo rate is increased, what is happening to money supply? Money supply emautundi? Decrease. When money supply is decreased, what is controlled? When money supply is decreased, what is controlled? Inflation. Keep this in mind. Now read the second statement. Central banks generally assume that they have the ability to counteract the rising consumer prices through monetary policy means. Now, do you find that the statement 2 and 1 are connected? If you don't recollect what kind of monetary policy it is and what would be the impact on the economy, you can't find it as interconnecting statements. Extension thought రాకపోతే 1 and 2 are explaining each other and చెప్పలేం. Now, the other day we come up with a trick. What is that? For or because. Now put that because or for and now read the two statements together. And in the second statement, how does central banks counteract means controlling rising consumer prices? What is rising consumer price? Price of goods are rising. What do you call rising consumer price? Inflation. And what happens when you increase your repo rate? Money supply decrease. It leads to what? Controlling inflation. Therefore, the two statements are explaining each other. So what should be the answer? It is up to you. A, B, whatever it is, you just find it out. Understand the logic, okay? Now, 7th statement. Interesting one. 7th question, sorry. It was given in 2022. What is the first statement? If inflation is too high, RBI is likely to buy government securities. Now, it is the same question repeated multiple times. We call this as open market operations. The two economists in the middle are discussing something. What was the discussion? Enlighten me. Economists la మీ ఇద్దరు. If you know, you can leave the class. మీరు మాట్లాడుకోవడంతో వెనకిద్దరు మీ ఇద్దరినే చూస్తున్నారు. In the context of buying and selling of government securities, what do you call that? Open market operations, right? In 1 year, open market operations was directly asked. In this context, the same concept was twisted, right? Look into the first statement. Inflation is too high. Now, what should be the objective of RBI in the context of OMO, open market operation? RBI has to control inflation. How does RBI control inflation? By increasing repo rate. Also, it can absorb money from the market. How it absorbs money from the market? By buying or selling. If I am buying securities from the market, I am increasing money supply. If I am selling, I am reducing money supply. మార్కెట్ నుంచి డబ్బులు లాగాలి, వాళ్ళకి ఏమి ఇవ్వాలి? ఊరికే డబ్బులు ఇస్తారా? ఐఎమ్ గివింగ్ దెమ్ గవర్నమెంట్ సెక్యూరిటీస్, ఇన్ రిటర్న్ గెటింగ్ money from them. As a result, what is happening to money supply in the market? Decreases. When money supply is decreased, what happens to inflation? Now, what is that keyword in the first statement? RBI doesn't buy, rather it should sell government securities. Therefore, first statement is wrong. Come to the second one. If rupee is rapidly depreciating, RBI is likely to sell dollars in the market. Why? Can anybody explain this? Very interesting concept. Application of rupee appreciation and depreciation. No. Look into the statement. Rupee is rapidly depreciating, right? And RBI is likely to sell dollars in the market. In what context your rupee depreciates? That should be the criteria. Your rupee depreciates because you are buying something with this rupee. That means whatever thing you are buying, its demand is increasing. What do you buy with rupee? What is other currency given? You are buying dollars. Now it says RBI will induce what into the market? RBI is pumping more dollars, then what happens? Demand for dollar is increasing because supply is decreasing. Now RBI is focusing on supply side of dollars. From where does RBI has dollars to pump into the economy? RBI maintains something called as Forex. In the form of what? Various forms. Out of Forex, it is increasing supply of dollars in the market. When supply is increasing, what happens to demand for dollar in Indian market? When demand decreases, just imagine me and Arvind are doing trade. I need more dollars and he got rupees. Today, he is ready to give me 90 rupees in return of $1. But because RBI pumped more dollars in the economy, what happened to demand for dollars? Decreased. Therefore, tomorrow, if he says, I'll give you 85, I'll again give 1 rupee. Why? When supply of dollars increases, its demand comes down. When its demand comes down, you don't have to give more rupees to buy dollar. That means you are arresting the slide of Indian rupee. That means you are stopping rupee depreciation. This is a regular thing done by RBI. So this question is application of concept. You need to have some understanding. Else you don't get the context. Next. So statement 2 is right. Again, statement 3. Look at the third statement. If interest rates in America or European Union were to fall. What do you mean by interest rates are falling? Borrowing has become cheap in America and European Union. When interest rates are falling, what happens to investment profits? Increase. How? Investment profits increase when people are getting more interest on bonds, right? In which context people or investors get more interest on bonds? Only when banks are offering loans at higher rates, companies turn towards people and offer them bonds at relatively less than bank interest but more than normal level. Now in this case, what happens? Investors in America, they find that American economy and European economy are not lucrative for profits. Why? Already rates are low. Then what do? They search for a lucrative investment destination. They try to look for those countries where they can get more profit if they invest their money. Right? Imagine FII and FDI are coming to India. Why they're coming to India? Because interest rates are low in America. So there is inflow of foreign capital. Exactly what is coming to India? dollars. How do you invest in India? In rupees. Convert it, right? Now read the statement. If interest rates in America or European Union were to fall, that is likely to induce RBI to buy dollars. Of course, why? How do you, I'm bringing $1 million into India. How should I invest it? Convert it into rupees. Who does that? Now read the statement. RBI will induce to buy dollars. RBI is buying dollars from people like me and giving to me what? Indian rupees. And where does that Indian rupees goes into? The market. So when I'm bringing dollars from America, RBI will buy dollars from me and in return gives me rupees. And then with that rupees, I invest in Indian company. Say Reliance lo betta. What is flight of capital? Suddenly, I found that American market is more lucrative. What do? I will withdraw my investment. Who does that? FIIs, unlike FDI. When FIIs are withdrawing their investment, in which currency you find more pressure? They are demanding dollars. Why? They want to pull their money from India, put it in America. So, they got Indian currency. Now they want to convert it into American dollars. Then what happens to dollar demand? In this context, UPSC can give a statement. Whenever there is flight of capital from Indian markets, it leads to depreciation of Indian rupee. Is that true? Yes, it is true. ఇప్పుడు దాకా అట్లా ఇబ్బంది పెట్టలా. Till now there is no such tough statement, but that could be a possibility in the near future. Next. So third statement is right. So remove 1, 2, 3 are the answers. Okay. Now next question, it is about an individual pulling out 1 lakh from his own demand deposit account. What is the immediate impact on aggregate money supply? Increase. Very good. What else? Chapu Nandini. Increase. You. Increase. Very good. ఎందుకో demand ana. If you understand M1, M2, M3, you get this question right. What is M3? Profit. My money in my pocket, my money in the bank deposit, my money in the time deposit, other deposits with RBI. These are parts of M3. What did I do? From my demand account, I have withdrawn my money. Does it lead to increase or decrease in M3? M3 is constant. Look at the board. M3 is equal to money with the public, that means in my pocket, plus money in demand account, plus my time deposits. What is time deposit? FDs, plus other deposits with RBI, right? Now the question is, I have withdrawn 1 lakh from here. Once I withdraw money from here, where does it go? Either it should be in my pocket or it should be in time deposit. ఏం చేస్తాను ఇంకా? Generally, economy says it moves to money with the public. I have withdrawn only for some purpose, to spend somewhere. Now look into the keyword immediate effect, right? Immediate effect is what? Unchanged. What if the word immediate effect is not given? Imagine there is no phrase given as immediate effect. Now check the question. What happens to aggregate money supply in the economy? No, it will decrease. Why? Why? It is used for Consumption. When I'm consuming, what is happening? It is going into what? Right? Or I can buy bonds, shares in foreign market. So if the word is not given, there are more than one interpretation, right? So immediate effect makes you understand that M3 remains untouched, unscathed. It doesn't undergo any change. So it remains constant. Look for the word constant. Reduce, increase, increase. It is to leave it unchanged. So that is the answer. ఈ ఇంక్రీజ్ అని ఎందుకు చెప్పారు అంటే M3 గుర్తులేదు. వెరీ గుడ్. నెక్స్ట్ కమ్ బ్యాక్ టు 9th question. Heard about data protection bill in 2018-2019. It has made lot of news in India. In that context, you can solve this question. Look into the 9th question. RBI recent directives relating to storage of payment system data. What is this payment system data? Your UPI payment, credit card payment, all kinds of payments you make, right? And the data regarding that. Popularly known as data dictate command, the payment system provides that. First statement. Ensure that entire data relating to payment systems operated by them are stored in a system only in India. This is called territorial principle. Whether you are a private bank, any private firm, any kind of payment taking place within this territory, it should be stored within India. This was one of the key discussions in data protection bill. We fought for this. Some companies argued against this because in the context, say for example Google, it denied. What do you mean by this? GPay, I hope you understand, right? We want it to be stored in India. As a result, every foreign payment system, in this case GPay, they started their own data operating centers in India, and our transactions in Google Pay are stored in the systems located physically in India. Statement 1 is true. Second statement. They shall ensure that the systems are owned and operated by public sector enterprises. Why? You got Amazon Pay. Should Amazon hire public sector enterprise to ensure that the data is stored in their system? If this is the clause, imagine if this is the clause, 50% of private transactions doesn't happen in India. They leave the country. So statement 2 is wrong. Then third statement is funny. They shall submit the consolidated system audit report to who? The moment you look at audit, it is not about CAG, it should be RBI. Why CAG is interested in audit of systems data regarding payments? Payments are purely the prerogative of who? Who is the regulator of your payment system in India? RBI, central bank. So third statement is wrong. Eliminate 3, eliminate 2. What is the answer? Only 1, right? Next. It is about next question is about marginal cost of funds based lending rates. These guidelines help improve the transparency in the methodology followed by banks for determining the interest rates on advances. Fine. Very valid question, very basic concept. And they help ensure availability of bank credit at interest rates which are fair to the borrowers as well as the banks. MCLR came into picture because banks have manipulated the concept called base rate. They started lending at whatever rate they want to select customers. As a result, what happened? Inconsistency, corruption happened in banks, and therefore primary sector like agriculture is given loans at relatively higher rates, and people from big corporates, when they want to buy Mercedes, Audi, BMW, they were given loans at relatively less interest rate. A farmer to buy tractor was given loan at higher interest rate than a big industrialist taking loan to buy Mercedes at a low interest rate. How should we understand this? Bank said enough with tamasha, such kind of dramas in banking sector. It said you should have one parameter. What is the basis for MCLR? There are 3 points. On the lines of LIBOR rates, LIBOR, London Interbank Operating Rates, we have invented our own stuff. What is that? Mumbai Interbank Operating Rate. Never heard about it? Winner, Ponyland. Now, whenever you come across such questions, don't confine to, I know this statement, yes, my answer is right. Focus on other elements of the same concept. Look into the reasons why MCLR came into picture. Advantages of MCLR, methodology in MCLR. These two things will make you to answer any kind of question from this topic. Not only MCLR, same with repo rate, same with marginal standing facility, same with SDF, standing deposit facility. Any kind of concept based question, work around the concept. Next. What is the next one? So both the statements are right. Therefore, the answer is C, 1 and 2. Next. Coming back to next question. Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Act 2006. The medium enterprises are those. It is all about the criteria. With investments in plant and machinery between 15 crore and 25 crore. That is one thing. Next. All bank loans to the microfinance, micro, small, medium enterprises qualify under the priority sector. Look into the keyword in the second statement. All loans. Does all loans become part of priority sector for micro, small and medium enterprises? There are 3 kinds of loans. What are they? In the context of MSME, there are 3 types of loans. Government has also started a Yojana for this. Mudra Yojana. What is the highest limit? And in which context? Shishu, Kishore, Tarun, right? In which context? What is the highest amount of loan you can get? Any medium enterprise getting loan is part of this scheme? No. Then what about the investment criteria in the first statement? According to MSME Act 2006, 15 crore to 25 crore. What is the criteria? 25 crore or 5 crore? Micro, small, medium, it is about 5 crore, 15 crore, 10 crore, 15 crore. So, again, the rule is working. What is the rule? Factual based statements are wrong. Again, come back to next question. What is the question? It is about merchant discount rate. Sorry. Okay, it got jumbled. Capital adequacy ratio is the amount that banks have to maintain in the form of their own funds to offset any loss that banks incur if the account holders fail to repay dues. What is capital adequacy ratio? There are something called as reserve requirement. I hope you understand the concept. So, is capital adequacy ratio specific to a bank or in general for banking sector determined by RBI? Prati bank ki jeptada inta capital adequacy ratio maintain cheyamani or in general jeptada. And if you read Basel norms 1 and 2, they have categorically mentioned about capital adequacy ratio. I hope you understand what is Basel norm and what is the role played by Basel committee, right? Now, capital adequacy ratio is decided by each individual bank. This is a funny statement. That is wrong. What about first statement? Absolutely right. Why capital adequacy ratio is kept by the banks? It acts as insurance if at all the bank goes bankrupt. What are the other provisioning ratios or reserve requirements? And what is that ratio which is directly linked to NPS of a bank? Provisioning ratio. if NPS are increasing, accordingly banks has to keep aside amount under what do you call that, again reserve requirement. Focus on that. Either UPSC is focused on Basel norms, capital formation, capital adequacy ratio, or interest coverage ratio. Twice interest coverage ratio was asked by UPSC in two contexts. We'll come to that question later. Next. So take out the second statement, it is wrong. First statement is right. Next. Merchant discount rate. It is an incentive given by a bank to a merchant for accepting payments through debit cards. Yes. Second, the amount paid back by banks to their customers when they use debit cards for financial transactions for purchasing goods or services. Good. The charge to a merchant by a bank for accepting payments from his customers through the bank's debit card. So A and B are absolute imbecile statements, stupid statements. Why would somebody give you discount in this case? Why would somebody give you discount? Look into the third statement. The charge to a merchant by a bank for accepting payments from his, that is a customer loyalty extended by banks in the context of which kind of account? Current account. Next. The incentive given by government. No, that is ruled out. Points of sale. So the answer is C. If the first statement is to be true, everybody started doing the same thing. Every payment should be through debit card. Why? You get some incentive. Next. 14th question regarding payment banks. I say these two things. Payment banks and SFBs, small finance bank. UPSC mostly, whenever you find a question, if there are 4 statements, trust me, 1 would be from small finance bank, 3 would be from payment bank, or vice versa. These two are part of new banking system in India. Focus on these two whenever you are reading money and banking. Largely there will be a question on either of these banks. Come back to 14th question, right? Payment bank is being allowed in India to promote financial inclusion. Very good. Which of the following statements are correct? Mobile telephone companies and supermarket chains owned and controlled by residents are eligible to be promoters of payment banks. Any example where a mobile company has become a payment bank? Never heard about Airtel? Classic example. Next. Payment banks can issue both credit cards and debit cards. First point in the banking website of RBI regarding payment bank. Can payment banks give you credit card? They are not allowed to give credit card. They are only allowed to give credit card. In this context, try to understand how much is the minimum amount required to start a payment bank and the criteria. There are 4 important criteria for any entrepreneur or enterprise to start payment bank. One of the basic point is in both small finance bank and payment bank, 10 years of experience in financial sector. So focus on that criteria. Let us move to the next one. So second statement is wrong. Payment banks cannot undertake lending activities, right? They can't give loans. So answer is, they cannot give loans. Answer is 1, 2 is wrong, 3 is right. So I think B13, yes, B13. ఈ ఏబీలు పక్కన పెట్టండి అబ్బా, నాకు కనపడట్లేదు ఇక్కడ, చిన్న ఫాంట్ ఉంది. Let us focus on the concept. Next, core banking solution. Classic example of static concept. More than 5 times it was asked in the last 13 years. First statement, it is a networking of a bank's branches which enables customers to operate their accounts from any branch of the bank on its network regardless of where they open their accounts. Absolutely right statement. One of the fundamental reasons why core banking solutions have gained prominence in news is because of this feature. Second, It is an effort to increase RBI's control over commercial banks through computerization. Half of the statement is true. What is that? RBI controls commercial banks, but not through computerization. How RBI controls commercial banks? How? Interest, reserve ratios, and then what? Is there any mechanism called commercial paper, certificate of deposits, etc.? What are they? To escape from the scrutiny of RBI, banks borrow money from each other. Why? Whenever RBI checks the accounts of these banks, everything should be appropriate. That is how RBI controls commercial banks, not through computerization. So that statement is wrong. Next statement. It is a detailed procedure by which a bank with huge non-performing assets is taken. No. Core banking solution is not about bank merger. It is not about NPAs. It is just about widening the network of operators within the banking network. Next. So 3 is wrong. Actually, third statement is odd man out. Only 1 is the answer. Next. In the context of Indian economy, which of the following are the purposes of statutory reserve requirements? Again, we have seen capital adequacy ratio. Another question is regarding statutory reserve requirements. Check the statements. To enable the central bank to control the amount of advances the banks can create. Is it true? How do you know? Imagine I got 100 rupees, I am a scheduled commercial bank. RBI said SLR 25%. What is the other one? CRR 15%. How much is total reserve requirement? 40. How much I can lend? 60. Tomorrow bank said 20 SLR, 5 CRR. I can lend 75. That means how much a commercial bank can lend is not determined by the bank but by RBI. Look into the first statement. It enables central bank to control the amount of advance. Amount of advance means it is all about loans that the banks can create. So the question is, the statement is absolute right. Second one, to make the people's deposits with the banks safe and liquid. Is that the reason why a statutory reserve requirement is made? Next, to prevent the commercial banks from making excessive profits. Why would RBI go against the bank's commercial interest? Third is ruled out. To force the banks to have sufficient vault cash to meet their day-to-day requirement. To meet your day-to-day requirement, you don't maintain reserve. Reserve is only to repay when you go bankrupt or suddenly when there is rush of people who have deposited their money in your bank and they started withdrawing. In 2 contexts it happened in India. 2 banks. What are they? Recently, when this ICICI bank has been through some scam, Chanda Kochar has made some scam, right, to Videocon. How many depositors started withdrawing their money? Never in the history of ICICI bank so much of withdrawal of money has happened. Why people withdrawed their money? Urke, oka reason untundiga. Why? When any bank where you got huge deposits is going through a scam, you are worried about safety of your money. Very simple logic. Imagine tomorrow you read a news that Adani got arrested. After 5 days, State Bank of India extended 10,000 crore loan to Adani. What do? You start withdrawing your money from State Bank and put it in another bank. Why? వాడే మునిగేడు, వాడికి లోన్ ఇచ్చారు, బ్యాంక్ కూడా పోద్ది, మన డబ్బులు కూడా పోతాయి. And do you understand how much will be refunded to you? There is an act. It was amended in 2022, I guess. You got 1 crore in your bank account. That particular bank filed for bankruptcy, it was gone. How much will be given to you by RBI? What is that promise made at least? Recently it is 5 lakhs. Before that it is 1 lakh. What is that act called? Focus on basic things. This could be a question. Exam నుంచి రాగానే అర్రెరే అనుకుంటారు.